Guys, my name is Michaela Peppercorn, and I'm the creator of Everything Happens for a Reason, but What the Fuck? I'm so excited to finally be doing this. I decided to start this podcast to kind of discuss life in your 20s and honestly try to give advice to anyone who might need it. I, by no means, am an expert, and I certainly don't know everything about life, but I would love to try to help someone out who might be struggling with it. That being said, welcome to episode 1, Growing Out. One of the hardest things about becoming an adult is probably the idea of growing out people, activities, and places that have surrounded your life for so long. One of the toughest challenges for me personally was starting adult life after being in athletics in school for basically my entire life. I struggled personally with identity when my sport was no longer part of my daily life or like routine. And I think it's because we spend so much of our childhood doing what others expect us to do or what they want us to do that when it comes time to choose what we want our lives to look like, it's like completely normal to feel out of touch and kind of lost. I took a lot of time to kind of self reflect and see what makes me me. And that's honestly scary sometimes to get outside of your comfort zone and kind of restart your life, but I highly suggest it. My advice and something that I really try to live my life by is that whether your support group, whether it's family, friends, or anyone else you're around frequently, they don't get the right to tell you how to live your life. Now, this doesn't mean to ignore advice or like lash out if someone disagrees with your life choices, but it does mean that they've already got to live their life. They've made their choices on their career, their spouse, their family, those big things. So don't let them or anyone else who might be unhappy or jealous in your life try to live their life through you. Make decisions that make you happy because ultimately life is way too short to live an unhappy life. And that sounds so cliche, but it's so true. And I've honestly realized that a lot lately. So don't live your life trying to justify the decisions you make because some random person doesn't agree that you dyed your hair a different color, or you moved states, or you decided to start wearing clothes that show your personality. Do things in your life that bring you joy, even if it doesn't make everyone happy, because you're not on this earth to make everyone happy. I found out very quickly also that people who are not content with their life will try to bring you down when you choose to do things that make them afraid. For instance, I decided to move to another state. I moved from Indiana to South Carolina this August, and my fiance and I moved together, and it was one of the most eye-opening experiences I've ever had because people are so judgmental. Like the craziest things too. People just make comments about all the negatives of a choice you make. And I think that that's so, it like really shows you who's like supporting you and who's not, because insecure people are going to find something negative in anything you give them. So I realized really quickly who's rooting for my success and who's in my life to bring me down. And it's really hard to cut those people out who don't bring you happiness or joy, but it's honestly one of the most relieving things when you know you don't have to fill up people who just drain your cup. It's a really hard pill to swallow though, when you realize that the people you've given the most time and energy to your life are just there to reap the benefits of the positive impacts that you bring to them. So, it's just you have to protect yourself. Another huge lesson I learned is that you can't let people drain you to the point of exhaustion. That's a very thin line to walk when it comes to being a nice person, because all I ever wanted to do was help everyone. I like to make people happy, but you honestly have to see if you're making them happy or if they're just using you because you make them feel good. And the best way to make sure you're protecting your peace is to step back and assess how you feel when you're around the people you're involved with the most. If you feel strained or anxious when spending time with someone who's considered a friend or a partner, maybe it's time to take a minute and truly look at what the relationship brings to you. And that doesn't mean you be selfish. And sometimes you have to be selfish. If you're the only one who makes contact with this person, or they seem to only want you when you have something in return, it's not a person you should get to spend your time with. We only get 24 hours a day, 30 to 31 days a month for 12 months every year. And honestly, if someone's making those seconds or minutes of your time unpleasant, it's okay to be stingy. And maybe that's not a person you should devote your time and energy to. And maybe that relationship's been outgrown. So I've talked about outgrowing your childhood, outgrowing your relationships, and maybe your hometown. But the last thing I want to touch on real quick is outgrowing your passions. As you grow older, you'll find things that used to be really enjoyable, draining, and sometimes upsetting, and that's completely okay. It might seem overwhelming at first, but it's actually a really fun part about growing up and trying new things. Don't be afraid to try new things, spread your wings, get vulnerable, do things that make you uncomfortable because that's where growth happens. Doing things that make you scared is where you'll really find your true passions. Thank you for sticking along and listening to the first episode of my show, Everything Happens for a Reason, but what the fuck? And I hope to see you next week. Thanks. Bye.